Alright, boom. Hey, okay, it's time for a video finally after a long, long break. 2 months, me traveling in Yangshuo, me doing a motorcycle trip, and all sorts of fun stuff. I am back on YouTube, which is great. And here's an update of what's going on in my life. So, over the break, I started an application to do a master's program through ASU, Arizona State University, in their TESOL program. So that way I can move on to another university teaching position, but maybe in South Korea or Taiwan or Japan, somewhere where the pay is a bit higher, and it'd still provide me the opportunity to get side jobs and stuff. Now, for me, Korea is the ultimate sweet spot because it has a nice standard of living, but then the cost of living is also quite low as long as you kind of stay outside of Seoul. When I was living in Incheon, I found the cost of living to be really great, and I was able to save a bit of money while working at a university. I can do the same, but make more money because then I can have side jobs, and yeah, that's a big, big perk. I like working in China, and I'm hoping to use this time working here to get my practicum completed for the master's program if I get accepted. And then from there, I'll, you know, move on to another country. So here's the reasons why. I do like China. I like the food. I like the people. I like the language. But the honest truth is, living here is becoming a bit harder as a foreigner. As you know, or you may not know, visa laws and stuff like that are getting stricter and stricter here in China. When I was here last summer, my work visa was rejected, despite the fact I came here on a legal work visa. But because the laws switched and changed, I had to go all the way back to the United States and I had to redo everything. Now, it should be fine for me to work here another year because I'm working at the same employer, so there shouldn't be, because I plan on working at the same place, the same college, because I really like it. It should be fine to just keep working here for another year, but I don't know how long I'll be able to stay, if you will, especially when you consider like this political climate and trade wars and all that other shit that's going on internationally that makes U.S. and Chinese relationships not so good. And it's something to consider. If you come here is, how long will I be able to stay? Not how long do I want to stay. And it's something I've been musing over. And if I go back to Japan, or if I have to go back to Korea, or if I go to Taiwan, to be frank, I just don't want to teach to little kids for a full-time job. I don't mind doing it for part-time work because the money is okay because you're doing it part-time. But if you're doing it full-time, especially if it's like a kindergarten or elementary school kids, it's just a huge pain in the ass sometimes, where it's just a lot of screaming, a lot of headaches, a lot of long work hours, and at the end of the day, you just really feel exhausted. So yeah, maybe I'll make a video on the ins and outs of different types of teaching places to consider working at. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. So yeah, I'm doing that master's in TESOL, and then so if you're going to come here, you're going to be working on a Z visa, and that's like the common sense, right? But the thing in China is that the laws are always changing. So when I've been thinking about making this motorcycle video, and I'm wondering, is there a point to make how to get a motorcycle license / a car driving license in China? Because the laws are always changing, which I think I'm going to make just because it seems like the laws become stricter. So what's already been put in place is solid information, but then new regulations and things get added on top of it, making the process a bit more complicated. So from when I first came, for example, I only needed my documents to be notarized by the United States government. But then when the laws changed, they required the documents to be notarized, have apostilles, and then after the apostilles, that it had to also have an authentication by the Chinese embassy, which doesn't exist in China. So I had to actually leave the country because there wasn't enough time for me to actually get the documents completed and then sent back. So I was pretty much up shit creek. And it took about 6 weeks for me to redo all of my paperwork. So I flew back, redid all of my paperwork, and got everything done by like the last week. And I started the day I got back. Like, I stayed at my cousin's place in Chicago. I started my paperwork, and then I barely got it done. And I was like, whew, that was close. So that sort of thing is something you also have to consider. Another thing you have to consider in China is the job you're working is probably going to be teaching. And the laws have changed in a way where you have to apply for a new visa from 90 days until your visa expires. But it also means that you have a 30-day window as well. So from 90 days till there's 30 days left on your visa, you have to expire. So you have a 60-day window to apply. Now, this is a big concern if you're coming here to work, because what that means is that if you apply after that 30-day period that's remaining in your visa, you won't get accepted. And that's what the new law states. Now, why this is important is you need a letter of release when you're getting a job. A letter of release is saying, okay, I, employer A, am releasing my worker B to go and work at company C. But some places, some cities, don't actually allow that to happen until after the contract has been completed, which is really strange. So your visa might expire in July, and if your if your contract also expires in July and you wanted to switch jobs, you might not be able to actually switch jobs without leaving the country, which is a big, like, oh fuck, I didn't even know. So this depends on the area you're looking at, because I've seen some people able to get a proxy letter where they have a letter provided from their employer saying, hey, we're going to release this guy on such and such a date, and it can be pre-approved before you actually finish your contract, so then you can find another job. Now, the area I'm living in actually does not allow that, which is Shunda. So that might change, it might not, but it's one of those weird things where the local laws are contradicting with the national laws. So then it puts the ESL teachers or workers or whatever you want to call it, the Laowai, in a really shitty predicament where you can just be completely up shit creek. So my advice, honestly, is when you come to China, if you pick a job that you want to stay with and that you would be okay doing for 1 or more years, or make sure you look into the local laws about whether or not you can actually receive a proxy paper that serves as your letter of release. So that way, if you don't like your job, then you can switch positions. If you like teaching to kids and stuff like that, that should be easy because you can find a million of those jobs. Teaching at universities personally would be the way to go. My advice for jobs, because it's just a lot better. You don't have to deal with screaming kids all the time, and they just behave much, much better. The salary is not the best, but at the same time, you get years of teaching experience, which is valuable in other countries such as South Korea, Taiwan, or Japan, that usually want a few years of teaching on top of a master's degree. So it's a good place to start and look and consider for career options. On top of that, I think that's all I can say now about visas and stuff like that. Working, living, staying in China. I hope this content helps you, because when I first came to China, it was great. But then when my visa stuff got all complicated and I had to go back and redo it all and then come back again, that was shitty. So, yeah. So make sure you look into the local laws. Make sure they're actually okay. If for switching, make sure you can get a proxy letter or some sort of letter of release before your contract ends if you want to switch jobs. And yeah, have a great time. I hope you enjoy coming to China. And yeah, see you in the next video. Bye.